Alex, it's great to be with you on this horrible, horrible day.
Yeah.
There's really no worse human behavior than execution of an innocent hostage. And that's what we're now seeing the fallout respond to. The anger is real. It complicates negotiations from the perspective of making it more urgent, if anything, not making it harder. But I think, all of Israel right now is in deep mourning. People I'm reaching out to who are engaged in these hostage efforts are devastated. Clearly, Hirsch, as an American, also adds another layer of pain here in the United States. I think that this is a real strategic moment for the Prime Minister to decide how he wants to accelerate, or that is, advance this war going forward. He's really at a fork in the road on some key decisions, and the crowd that you're seeing right now is likely to grow because of what we just witnessed.
Yeah, 100%. Joel, it feels like there's a visceral reaction to this from people around the world. I have gotten a number of communiques from people, I should say, but it's almost as if these young people, these 6, they survived these 11 months in likely deplorable conditions, only to be killed shortly before the IDF was able to rescue them. We do not know the circumstances of it. We do believe, according to reporting, that they were shot. But there's something about that these kids were survivors for this long, only to end so tragically in these tunnels under Rafah.
Yeah, Alex, it's a horrible story. I mean, the whole war is a horrible story. But this episode, this is horrific. According to reporting and people I'm talking to, not only did these six young people survive underground, living in hell for more than 10 months after being kidnapped from a rave, from a festival, a peace festival, but they were murdered as the IDF was getting near underground to freeing them. And so the level of evil that Hamas demonstrates in this is clear, but that should also be part of the calculation. It's clear that Hamas does not have any military leverage in these ceasefire negotiations. They're devastated and decimated. Gaza has been leveled, quite frankly. But what they do have are the hostages, and that's all they have. They're willing to execute the hostages in cold blood if it looks like the Israeli Defense Forces are about to free them. So this is a real moment for the Prime Minister to look squarely in the eye of the Israeli people and say what his priorities are. Will he move to try to get these released? Because we know what the alternative is, as we just saw with these horrific executions.
Well, that's what he should do, but do you believe he will do that, Joel? I mean, I asked a question, and I'm going to say it was somewhat cynical of nature, but the reality is many have suggested if Benjamin Netanyahu keeps this war going, he maintains power. And when this war ends, God willing, as soon as possible, that most Israelis want him out of office. So will he communicate directly and honestly with the Israeli people on his plans and what he intends to do to bring about the end of the war, bring a ceasefire about, bring the rest of these hostages home, dead and alive?
Alex, one would more than forgive you for being cynical on this question. As we heard from the interview, and as is pretty evident, Prime Minister Netanyahu is afraid of losing power, not only because he would lose power, but because it would then set in a process where he could go forward in the cases, or the justice, wheels of justice in Israel go forward in their cases against him and put him at risk. And so he has two impediment to moving forward on a deal from a domestic perspective. First is this justice, these cases against him on corruption. The second is holding his right flank together to keep him in power. And the right flank is opposed to a deal. They believe that any arrangement with Hamas would empower Hamas. That's not where the Israeli Defense Forces are. There was this scene a couple of days ago, apparently in the cabinet meeting, where the defense minister, Yoav Gallant, no dove by any standard, argued with Netanyahu in front of the cabinet that they needed to move forward on a deal and that hostages would die if they did not. And Gallant was shouted down and defeated in a small vote in the cabinet by the right-wing ministers. So, Netanyahu's holding on for his political life. And the question now is, will Israeli democracy force him and Gallant and other Likud ministers to say that enough is enough? And again, I do want to go back to the point, which is that this is Hamas at its worst, but this is what we know about Hamas. So this is really a question of Netanyahu's decision based upon the reality of the depravity and the savageness of Hamas.
National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, he is meeting virtually today with the families of the remaining American hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. I will say I spoke with Jeremy Bash in the last hour, who said that there is a confirmation of those 7 remaining. 3 are dead, but 4 are still alive. At least that's what they have intelligence to believe at this point. Last weekend, Rachel, the mother of American-Israeli Hirsch Goldberg Poland, who was among the 6 hostages found dead, spoke with MSNBC about their frustration over the lack of info given to hostage families. Take a listen, Joel.
We kind of live in this parallel universe that many people can't begin to imagine. We ourselves can't begin to imagine, and we're in that universe where our only son has been missing for these 324 days, and we've had one time that we've seen him, and it was for a 2-minute video where he was reading a script. So it's really a very torturous and anxiety-riddled existence.
Can't imagine. But what more can the United States do to get the hostages home, Joel?
You know, Alex, I first want to comment. My daughter is in college. If I go a couple hours without hearing back from her, if I reach out, it causes me stress. I can't even begin to contemplate how horrible that is for the families. There's no way to express words of empathy for them. What the U.S. can do is to continue to pressure, as we're doing publicly, to push our Arab allies to sit on Hamas and to do what the president and the vice president are doing, which is constantly calling for a ceasefire, for a hostage deal. There is an ongoing negotiation. Negotiations are always a failure until the day that they succeed, and that has to be the vision. This is a moment, though, also for the Israeli public to do what it is doing, which is to step up. And the United States, we can leverage that public pressure in Israel, I believe, to continue to make the case to the prime minister that it is in his personal political interest as well to achieve a ceasefire. That pressure is essential. The United States plays a key role in that regard.
Okay, Joel Rubin, I'm glad to have you on the show, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you so much, though hopefully under more pleasant circumstances.